give me
Ladies and gentlemen,
hope, prayer, wisdom.
it's time for New Sports. That's right. Written, directed, and produced by none other than Victor Allen. New Sports. Today's neo-urban, hot, sexy look at sports. Men in shorts, tight pants. Ladies and gentlemen, here's Vic.
Okay, men in shorts, tight pants. All right. Hey, you guys, welcome to New Sports. I'm not going to give them time to even elaborate on this one. This is our way of having the fellas talk about sports and our new angles on it or existing angles on it. So we have fun with it. And since no women are in the studio today, we can't wrap the sex around it. At least I'm not going to do that. I'm going to start you off with a topic that I think it made me stop and think about it. And it was dealing with running back Chris Johnson and wide receiver Larry Fitzgerald of the Arizona Cardinals. They both are looking for new contracts, okay? Bottom line. And Mario, being that you're a running back man, I have to always say that.
I run.
He's a running back man that played as linebacker.
Here in the refrigerator, it's a mad dash.
Right.
Zoom.
It's a mad
Navigating.
All right. So, look, here's the question I had when I looked at this. They're both up for new contracts. It says, well, are NFL running backs more valuable to a team than wide receivers? Who should be getting paid more money? Because Larry's a proven man. I call him kind of the similar to Randy Moss. Great hands, bigger, not as fast as Moss. Moss was like a human magnet with the football. And when he focused and concentrated and everything, he was just unbelievably talented. But you got Chris Johnson, who comes from a 2,000-yard rusher. Both are contracts. We're in the age of running back by committee. Being that's the case, who do you expect to get the larger contract?
Chris Johnson.
You do.
I didn't realize statistically he's like the number 4 or 5th back in history for productivity.
Yeah.
I didn't realize his numbers were like. I mean, I knew he was great, but his numbers are superb. He's like one of the best person in terms of that you don't know that much about.
Right.
He really is. So no, excellent. It doesn't show any way of giving ground. Limited lifespan, as we talked about for NFL running backs.
Right.
They just don't last long. But no, this man is going to get paid. Should be paid a lot.
Okay.
Should get a whole bunch of money. I understand he's due.
Right.
He's got an old contract.
Yes.
There were little bits of money that he totally and I've also understand the organization has already been saying.
Right.
In fact, I remember the tone as the guy. Somebody asked him, "Well, would this be a situation where you may have to hold back?" And they were, "Oh, no. We're not trying to make it seem when the management talks like that.
Right.
The management says, "Oh, no. There's no trouble here.
Right.
We know he deserves more. We want to give him more,
right.
And we just wanted him to come to some of these other little things and
right.
do some of this other stuff."
The good faith statement they wanted from him,
right,
because he was obligated by a current contract to some degree, show good faith, show up, and I think it was all the leveraging and everything. But it made me think of something else, though, Mario, because I believe he's going to get paid, but I still think I don't know if he's going to get paid as what they call a running back, because I think now, if you look at 2,000-yard running backs back in the day, if it was Eric Dickerson or anyone like that, when they got 2,000 yards rushing, and you look at the type of contract they had, they were automatically rewarded. I mean, it was really soon. Here's a guy that basically made top maybe $1 million. He has already run over 2,000 yards, has the record for it, and that was done 2 years ago. Why are we seeing him wait to get the rewards that's due from being a 2,000-yard rusher?
That's what owners do, because they had the paper. He's been due, and so now's the time. It's clear cut.
Yes.
He's due. He deserves the money.
Right.
But like I said, that's the prevailing theme anyway. The stuff from the management, they keep saying they're ready to pay him more. Obviously they want him happy and productive.
Well, and I agree, and I think they're at a time now, because I put in here the age of the NFL single dynamic running back is at a low, but for how long? We're in the age of wide receivers who stretch the field, and when you have running back by committee, doesn't that seem to cater to this? There are not going to be as many 2,000-yard rushers because you have committees. By that, does that devalue a 2,000-yard rusher because they're not dependent on one single running back? So how do you look at it?
Well, it really depends on the teams. And because we've talked about it before that NFL, they have their fads. They have offensive fads where they'll go, everybody kind of goes with this philosophy.
Right.
Doesn't mean it's right or better.
Right.
And sometimes it's just that's the popular way of doing things.
Right.
Just like the Wildcat for a minute. Everybody wanted to experiment with wildcat offenses.
Right.
But so they go through fads. I think it still comes down to players that, first of all, provide spark and scoring.
Right.
Whether that be a defensive spark from interceptions, those kinds of things, causing fumbles, but who have a direct impact. So obviously the more offensive players get more notice.
Right.
So the people who are big offensive players and then big offensive scorers always get the most attention, regardless of what the fad is of the time.
Right.
They're going to be the ones that get the most attention. Right. So it really comes down to the big plays and how much they're valued. But again, like you said, it may devalue them that they have running back by committee, but maybe not. It really depends to me on the different franchises and how much they value a certain kind of player. Certain coaches really love a certain kind of player.
Right.
And then, they're just guys who always want a big, hard-hitting running back.
Right.
They're just cats, that's the way they think.
Right.
And they're just cats who always think, I'm throwing first.
Yes.
I want a big receivers, so I don't think it's going to be a problem because he so much stands out, Vic, over the people that I don't think it makes any difference. He's going to get big money. I can't wait to see how much.
And the difference may be because it's a difference in being the highest paid running back if your running backs are not getting paid as much because we're not in that time of the supreme running backs. I mean, you look at Chris Johnson, you're comparing him to Adrian Peterson as which one do you want, the bruising, run hard, run through you, or the speed demon who says, I avoid getting hit to get to the end result faster and quicker. The question becomes to me now one of is the contract value. I believe he's going to be one of the highest paid players.
Should be.
But it's going to be interesting to see if the outcome is that Fitzgerald gets paid more because he's also under it. And I think we're in that time of the big wide receiver. Because of that, it made me think about what are running backs more valuable to a team than receivers now? Because they do have that value of being able to not depend solely on the pass, but we're in a passing league.
It just depends on the coach.
Yeah, but most of the teams are quarterback driven who can pass and open and down the field.
Yeah, but like I said, but again, fads, it doesn't make that the right way, and I'm not sure that it affects the money per se.
Right.
At least in the short term, because these are more long-term contracts, and things like that can change fairly easily.
Okay.
It's actually there's things that they look at and they study statistically. But Vic, remember now, a bunch of rule changes were made to specifically promote the passing game, to add more excitement and scoring to the league. So you've had that impact, I think, now.
Right.
And so you're seeing that. I'm not so sure. So that makes it so that you see more of certain kinds of things. Certainly 3 yards in a cloud of dust is not the offense of 2011.
No, it's not. And when the lockout was underway, presumably you didn't really see running back issues when it opened up. The first thing you look for, I hate to say this, I do want to see a good running back, but it's nothing like the ball going down the field. With that being said, I don't know how often we get 2,000-yard rushers. They don't come that often. It's
just like great quarterbacks, right? Because some drafts notoriously strong in certain areas and then really weak in other. That happens too.
Look at Oakland Raiders. Got two great running backs on the team. They both came out of the same league. I think out of the SEC. If I can stand corrected on that, but great running backs in production, and they've proven themselves by coming on into the organization. Unfortunately, the organization is not peaking to deliver the value they have, and they're running backs. But they are driven by the old Jamarcus Russell model. We need a great quarterback. So here they had the quarterback, the couple of running backs that didn't translate, which makes me start thinking about moving forward. Here it is. You got a 2,000-yard rusher. I think they're a little bit more devalued, and they're trying to leverage it because you're not going to see too many of them. So Chris will get his money, but there's a big gap between the next one and how many you have like that. Here's the question. How long before we see another 2,000-yard running back season? Will it be this year, 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, or 10 years or more? What do you think? Oh,
no, I think you're going to get them. I think you got people who have the potential now. So I think you could have one this year.
Okay, now what's the likelihood? Now let's because I mean we always know it's a potential. They said the following year with Chris Johnson that he did that 2,000 plus season. And then he came back and only had somewhere between, 1,300, 1,500 yards. So he still has to do his production. I'm going to say, I just have to come out of the box and say that I believe, first of all, Chris Johnson is the only one I may see doing, say, 2,000 yards. I just don't see anybody. I think you have to have speed because the defenses have set up so strong with linebackers and everybody else that you need speed because he knows how to avoid getting hit. And there's not too many players like him. So I'll say,
you also need someone committed to the run.
Right. And I'm saying this for a reason. I believe it may be 5 years minimum.
Yeah, well, I think there's always the people that certainly can do it. I think it more has to do with the commitment of the offensive to that type of thing.
Right.
In other words, there are people who could do it, but if the team philosophy is to throw, then it's what we would say a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Right.
You're good at it because that's what you've chosen to be.
Right.
And not that what you could be.
Right.
So it all depends, like I said, on that team where they have clear-cut plans for how they want to use him.
Right.
Then it's a little different.
And the game is changing for him because now they don't have Vince Young. The scheme and how they play the game, they're going to get a true quarterback through the draft, which they already have. So it's going to be interesting to see how Chris produces from that. But he's earned his money, whatever that's going to be. Okay, I'm going to go over to the next one. Now, I know Mario doesn't follow too often, the great game of baseball, but he is a baseball fan. Don't let him fool you. Bottom line here, we have a celebration from Jim Thome. I call him the Big Slugger, who joins the 600 home run club. He's only one of 8 that's ever done it. Now, somehow or another, the celebration for him hitting 600 hasn't really hit. Now, maybe it's because he's in Minnesota.
It's because his name is too hard to pronounce.
Oh, come on, man. Wait a minute. Don't do that. First of all, give him props. 600 home runs.
That's something else. We got to give him
his props. Yeah. Now.
There you go. And even get the little screams, too.
All right. Now, here's the thing. We are looking at that. He's not an immediate popular player or, far as the media is concerned, he's just not the popular ones they get behind. All right, he got that. Is this 600 taking a hit because we are under the age of PED, performance-enhancing drugs? Is that the reason why people are cautious about celebrating because they know coming down the road there's a good chance some information may pop up? So are we being cautious about this celebration? Because 600, man, you have 1,700 players in the history of baseball. And you're the 8th at 600. That's like a lock of celebration to me. Why are we not celebrating Jim Thome's accomplishment?
Well, I think it's multifaceted. I think, one, it's the overall decline in terms of popularity.
Right.
But two, at least from the perspective of the sports reporters, they're afraid to celebrate anything because of because they, unfortunately, and again, this is the way they present the story. So one could call it a spin or not.
Right.
But when you listen to them report on this, they all refer to the performance-enhancing drug. So therefore, if they're going to indict everybody,
right?
And this is not us, and I'm not sure it's even the fans,
right?
Well, and it's probably not the fans because if I remember correctly, Vic, statistically, the fans don't care,
right, like
the league cares.
That's right.
It's kind of bad when you look at what the people think about steroids. They just kind of not. I mean, it's certainly not a big old backlash,
right?
Okay, if anything, there's a lukewarm response,
right,
against it.
It is.
So I don't know that the fans, but certainly I can tell you this: the sports reporters, they all are tiptoeing lightly, and certainly because of that issue.
Well, I put it down to just 3 options for me. I mean, look, I'm not the avid statistical fellow of baseball. I kind of follow what they call the human quality of it, which is really they are playing a game. Most of them are doing what they are supposed to do. There's always those who paint a picture that we now have to consider the possibility. So here are the possibilities. If I'm judging right now, I'm celebrating Jim Thome's accomplishment. Now, there's 3 options I have. You may be more. Is it the reason why it's not getting the due, I guess you can say Hall of Fame credentials? Because 600 home runs, to me, you're a Hall of Fame lock. They're talking about, well, he's not a first ballot. I said, so what you're saying is you're hesitant that a 600 home run hitter doesn't give you a lock when there's only 7 who've done it. So he's in the area of Barry Bonds or Babe Ruth, you name him, Hank Aaron. So here's my 3 choices that I'm trying to point towards, and I'm looking at it. We think somewhere down the road a PED discovery is looming. That's one that I just think is the number one.
Well, I only know their own reported studies from the commission,
Right.
which basically seem to say everywhere you look.
Right.
Because remember, they actually came out and said to single out any single player.
Right.
Would almost be selective prosecution.
Yes, right.
Because the amount of what appears to be use is so widespread.
That's right.
That you'd have to indict everybody in the whole sport, every team, every coach, every. So it's like prohibition. Everybody's
right. Yeah, it's one of those things that is a culture that, look, I'm not in the baseball rooms. I'm not there to talk to the managers. I can't get the insight on it, but you can't get away from it. So, my first choice was that the PED discoveries, writers hate to be wrong when they get behind somebody and then they get slammed. My second one was he plays in Minnesota and suffers from the lack of popular media market. And I said, yeah, but Kirby Puckett played there and he was received, and somehow or another, he just had this media thing behind him, and, rest his soul and everything, rest in peace. The third one is with some of the most celebrated baseball stars guilty of PEDs, we are hesitant to cheer. I am hesitant to cheer. I hate to say it.
But like I said, I'm hesitant to cheer any damn way.
Okay, you're not helping right now.
But, and I'm more like the public. I don't waste any time worrying about the steroids. I just don't waste any time.
Yeah, it's not about. Look, we're not. I don't get shaken by.
I think they use steroids.
Right. Look, I don't get shaken by them. I would love to see the purity of the sport, but the sport, no sport has been clean from all types of issues. It's just not PEDs. It's other things that go in there. So it's a history there where they're trying to get it so they don't. This is a money thing. You hate to see players taking advantage of something and then saying, well, it enhances merchandising, everything else, and they say, well, you were juiced. So they say it's an unfair playing field.
Well, half the time,
don't say it.
Babe Ruth was.
I knew it.
Hungover.
I know nobody wants to hear that.
Did that help him hit better? The fact he was drinking,
right? But
drinking in the bullpen.
Look, we was talking about some of the greatest athletes, and somebody checked me on one of the comments and said, if you of course called us assholes, but he said maybe you didn't know about his pitching prowess. I said no, we really did know about it. The problem is that he wasn't given the recognition of being able to be celebrated a lot about his pitching. It was celebrated about how he hit a home run, how he pointed. He's the heaviest home run hitter that basically said, hey, I'm the all-time. So the pitching part we knew about. I said, but how does that translate to people who haven't seen him? So the problem
how about the fact that at the same time the Negro Leagues were there with the players who felt that they had people as good or better.
Right. I know it's the argument of not having footage.
Allowed to play.
Right. Look, I would love to see more. So hey, we're giving him his due. All right, going to go over to the next one. And I say you got to be very careful, man, if you mess with the man whose name is Tebow. Now here we go. Now look, there's always a writer out there who has to rebel because maybe he had a bad day with his girlfriend, maybe he had a bad day with his wife, maybe somebody ran across his grass. Well, Greg Doyle is a reporter. He's a columnist, and the thing we have here is don't criticize Tim Tebow and his religion. So, unfortunately, Tebow had a response to an article, and so I'm going to read exactly what that article read, and then you can just tell me how you feel about Greg Doyle. Is he going to regret that he is now getting a backlash from the Twitter sphere for knocking over a statement that Tim Tebow said? And this is what Greg Doyle wrote. He says, Tebow has been a great billboard for Christianity, just as Muhammad Ali has been a great billboard for Islam, and Sandy Koufax a great billboard for Judaism. But that doesn't mean he will be rewarded with a starting job in the NFL. Maybe deep in his heart, Tebow knows that, but from the outside, it doesn't look that way. From the outside, it looks like Tebow equates his love for God in heaven with tangible rewards here on earth. And that's more than wrong. It's blasphemy. Now, that's the columnist who basically sat there and said, what did I do
He's a
wrong?
sports columnist.
Yeah.
Well, that's what happens when sports columnists attempt to define religion.
Sure. Now, wait a minute.
I mean, I don't know that it's blasphemy. Remember what he's saying, and but that's what happens. He's a sports columnist.
Yes.
This is now a religious discussion.
Right.
In other words, I think for Tim Tebow to embrace religion and his love of God, to have gotten him to where he is,
Yes.
makes total sense to me. How you gonna tell him that?
Wait.
That's what got him where he got him where he is, you asshole.
Wait a minute.
But first of all, he's all right to say that. It's just that when you cross the line and debate religion,
you have to be careful.
because you're not going to win. You can't win. It's about faith. That means there's no proof.
Look, the reason why I read you the part of what he said,
Yeah.
I wanted you to get the idea of what he said without telling you what Tebow said. That's why
I guess I've been reading what Tebow said right here.
With Tebow, basically, Tebow's quote is somewhat where he's saying, I'm relying always on my faith, and God's plan for him involves the spectacular, not mundane. That's
the part I was understanding. Did he say for him?
Yeah.
He refers to himself in the third person thing.
Yes.
That's always whenever people refer to themselves in the third person.
You gotta be.
It's a little weird.
I know. So
it's like saying Mario like you. What would y'all be like, Mario?
Wait a minute.
Mario.
Come on, man.
So I don't even understand what it means. Relying is always on my faith
And
God's plan for him. God's plan for who? But God's plan for him involves the spectacular, not mundane.
Right.
I don't have any issue with that. He's already been spectacular.
Right.
He is spectacular. In other words, to me, how do underdogs, how does the little man accomplish the impossible?
Right.
The same way we do, by believing you can, busting your ass, and doing it against the odds.
Thank you.
What's the odds at what we're doing? They say you two brothers, you can't do shit. And we're here challenging that.
Right.
So that's why so many of us embrace Tim Tebow, because he embraces the challenge. That's the thing that people don't get it. Is the fact that he embraces the struggle, the journey. He's not whining.
Nope.
He's not crying. Nope. He's not saying, give me this and give me that. He's just busting his ass.
Right.
And as far as I can say, I'm hip to that. Right on, my brother. Right on, my brother. And that's what we're doing here.
Yeah. Look, the part that I couldn't help it. There's a quote that the columnist Greg Doyle said. He said, "It's like someone spilled Pat Robertson all over my inbox." That's what Doyle tweeted. So once the Twitter sphere hit him, he felt like Pat Robertson.
Well, that's cool. I mean, that's what it's all about. You got noticed. I don't feel bad for you, dude. No offense. Who the hell ever heard of Greg Doyle?
Right.
Now your ass is known. You're a nobody, as far as I'm concerned. So next.
Okay. Now,
yeah, right on.
Now you just hit the closing of the segment, and you're going to get to the part where I say, I think I know Mario's choice, so here it is. Let's rate Greg Doyle's piece. Was it 1, smart, dumb, unwise, unpopular, no personal impact? You just gave your
smart.
You thought it was smart that he wrote that piece?
Yeah.
He's pretty good.
I think, Vic.
You're saying
Vic and I, we have this thing. There are no accidents.
Right.
You can't get advertising like this.
Right.
Hey, man, we heard that 2 people dropped dead watching your commercial.
Right.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I know, man. See, that's cold.
No shit.
Right.
No, I think he did it on purpose. Like I said, who the hell? What is he? Probably some sports writer for some paper, and where? Cincinnati or something. I don't know. Where is he? Who is he?
You know what? And I failed to get the information, but I think he reports. I think he's. I may be wrong. From
Colorado.
I think he's
the
from
Colorado.
It's somewhere. I'm not sure.
Colorado Springs Gazette.
Why you want to knock on
I'm just saying. Who gives a shit?
Come on, man. Yeah, wait a minute. So wait a minute. On one hand, you're saying smart.
Yeah, because, hey, we were going to spread some rumors to get us some airplay, right? We were going to spread some rumors.
It wasn't going to be about Tim Tebow.
It was going to be, hey, we was looking around. People do stuff to get notoriety. I remember when Rock Hudson got sued by his former lover, okay, because he was, gay and being exposed to AIDS.
That's a story.
My phone rang, and my buddy said, I did him too. I got him. I did him. Where's my buddy? I'm just saying, people admit, Vic, that's what you do, right?
Yes.
You go criticize, say crazy shit,
right,
like that other priest in the middle of nowhere who wanted to burn the Koran,
Right.
to get some numbers. I just don't want to die.
Right.
So I want some publicity. I just don't want to do stuff that's going to have blowing up the house.
Right.
But we may have to
Right.
do a stunt.
Right.
I may have to walk naked down Crenshaw.
Right. I would
But maybe not naked.
Not naked, brother. I would say this. Now, I'm going to give Greg Doyle, I'll take away something else and say I think it was unwise. Now, I'm going to say this for a reason. It only works if you're good at being a columnist. If you're good, then this works. I don't know how he's revered. So on one hand, I said, the Twitter sphere is different when they first hit you. And remember, you're a Tebow hater. And columnists already, they're going to get a hit anyway. Because
he's going to get more numbers, Vic. He's going to get.
But of what type of numbers?
Well,
Tebow's not going to be his.
Who was it? P.T. Barnum. Somebody said it's no bad publicity.
Yeah, I believe that. I believe there's no bad publicity, but I do believe there are bad columnists.
Oh yeah, that's what I said. Let's play this. It'll certainly bring him more attention.
Right.
Whether that's good or not,
and what
is
you
to
do
be
with
determined.
It. Right. Okay, so I just want to go there and just find out because I always say if I was in this room and we had a guest room full of women that don't really follow football, if you said Tim Tebow, they all say thumbs up.
Yeah, they like Tim Tebow.
They love what he stands for.
He says no on abortion.
Right,
they want someone they can blackmail.
Right. All right.
I'm sorry. Okay.
That's okay.
I'm not because of that one.
I've noticed I'm keeping this show moving along. This is my little segment where I just have fun. We exit out. And so I always say, do you believe? And it's up to you if you do or not. Well, I've been a fan of hillbilly hand fishing. I'm sorry. I can't help it. When you see catfish that big and you're bad enough to stick your arm in their mouth to catch them, and they're 70 pounds. Mar, you fished before. Just catching a fish on the
foreskin. That's what a real man use, foreskin fishing.
Just using the pole and having the fight from a 10-pound fish. Now imagine you're sticking your arm in.
I can't imagine.
You can't imagine that, right?
Right.
You already said you would do it. We covered that the other day.
Yes.
Yeah.
As long as you have the team there,
right?
The full evacuation team, including some veterinarians. So I want a bunch of snorkelers with spear guns.
I know you want
down there underwater,
right?
With the snorkels and shit, ready to go.
Let me tell you what I trip off. I know I want to get to do you believe to get out of here. The idea that they not only just go down, they have to sink their legs into these holes first.
Usually logs.
Right.
They say from the show.
Logs, right.
Usually the best place is like in a log.
Right. But it's a hole as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, it's like a dark hole.
You put your legs in their foot first and they say, hey, he has my foot. And that's just the beginning. So the idea that they said, now you got to get your hands around his head. You see how big a fish head, a catfish is right here? That's huge, dude.
That's what they call the big head.
I knew he was going to say
big
that.
time head.
No, leave it alone. All right, here it is. Do you believe? Do you believe?
The biggest.
Do you believe it's required you have more body hair than a catfish whiskers to hillbilly handfish?
What?
Man, look at the picture. You see the body hair, man? Did you see the body hair? It's required that you have to have a whole slew of body hair to do
Then a catfish
has whiskers.
Oh, okay. No.
It's not required? You
no.
sure?
Yeah, I think it's okay.
Wait a minute. Have you seen...
You got to have some missing teeth.
Mario, okay. Have you seen the brother here who's the host of the show?
Yes.
You see the hair on his back?
Yeah.
Is it a lot?
Yes, that hurt some people like that.
Okay, name somebody you think who likes that. Okay.
DeVoe.
Okay, I'm gone. All right, I'm leaving that alone. I'm leaving that alone. That's wrong. That's wrong. No, the idea that no one even says anything about this man's body here. It's unbelievably thick and coarse and everything else, and nobody cares because he just says, I got you.
I think some people into that. It's like, that whole grizzly thing.
You're wrong.
Grizzly Adams.
No, you're wrong, man. No,
yeah, I think there's someone like. I think there are people who like it.
I'm blown away about the show. If they keep, I think the show has a long history because you're going to have men who are going to prove themselves as being, I got this. I want to see some pimps and some players Go hillbilly.
That's why we said ghetto golf. So we want to promote ghetto golf.
Right.
It's a whole new golfing show.
That's right.
Ghetto golf.
Golf.
We're going to produce it.
All right.
You need to hire us, Vic. It's going to be a hit.
Let's call it. All right. Last one going out of here. Do you believe New York Jet quarterback Mark Sanchez wanted to fight his coach, Rex Ryan, for being pulled out of the recent preseason game loss to the Texans?
No.
You're good, man. You're right.
No, he's not going to. Who wants to fight Rex?
No, you're right.
Nobody wants to fight Rex.
No, he don't want to fight him. But
and Sanchez is actually he's a good guy.
He is.
He's a good guy. I mean, they try to paint him as he's not really a rebel guy.
He's not.
They try to make it seem like that because he left USC, but no.
Well, you're almost right, but he did. In a quote, and you actually see it on the video, says, "I wanted to fight my coach." And it wasn't for this preseason game. It was for a game last year. And, of course, he cleaned it up afterwards.
Oh, yeah. I mean, see, that's like saying a long time ago I felt this.
Right.
In my dreams, I wanted. I mean, who cares?
He already admitted.
I mean, there's a bunch of things you wanted. He probably wanted to bone one of the girls on air. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff you want for a moment.
You see what he does with this?
I'm just saying.
He
that's
takes
like
it to it.
I'm just going to reveal that a long time ago, I wanted to yell at my coach.
Keep it clean. Keep it clean.
I mean, like,
keep it clean.
Okay, but I didn't do it.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Well, no, first of all, the idea that he was bad enough to think that he could sit up there and outmaneuver Rex.
How many people wanted to slap their coach upside the head?
A whole bunch.
How many people at one point in time wanted to slap one of their parents upside the head?
The idea that he wanted to do this to
even though you shouldn't do it, you shouldn't think about it.
To the
Did
coach.
you at least think about it?
Well, to the coach who's bigger than almost all the linemen
so
in the
everybody
NFL.
thinks about something.
Right. But when you admit it into media, you invite it.
All right. I thought about marriage before.
Okay, I'm about to exit out. Thank you, guys. This is my new sports. I'm getting out of here. Thank you.
What have you thought about?
I have not. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying go football. That's all I'm saying. Football's got us in the swarm. I can't wait to see that contract they have for Chris Johnson.
Well, that's right. The two-headed Vic says, and I'm telling you, written and directed and produced by Victor Allen. New Sports is Victor Allen's own insight into today's hot world of sports. That's right. Gird your loins, you ladies too.